Hi, everybody. I'm back with Tanya from She's Somebody's Daughter, and I really wanted her to share with everybody how and why she got involved with this organization and, what it means to her. So, Tanya, take it away.
Thank you. So I had worked for a Christian camp for many years, and I want to say it was around 2013, 2014, I started to learn about the issue of human trafficking. And when I first learned, I started learning about it in other countries, and then that it happens in the United States. And then not only does it happen in the big cities, but it happens in our own small communities as well. And when I started learning, one of the first things that you learn is the average age of trafficking is often between 12 and 14 years old. And my daughter was right around 12 years old at the time. And so for me, the thought that there were children who were experiencing this broke my heart.
Hmm.
And I would just think about the fact that, this could be her. And I've shared that, there are often different causes that capture your attention or your heart. And while they might tug at it, you move on. But for me, human trafficking was the one that I just could not
Hmm.
get away from. And I often reference William Wilberforce, who was the abolitionist in England back in, I think it was the late 1700s, but he had a quote that said, "You may choose to look the other way, but you can never again say you did not know." And
Hmm.
that is just how I felt is I couldn't choose to look the other way. And so started praying about what that meant for me and was involved in some local community groups and then ended up getting connected with the executive director of She's Somebody's Daughter through a mutual connection and started I joined the staff in fall of 2018.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah, it's funny because I feel the same way with when I started my ministry, the nonprofit. It was really to facilitate healing for myself and my family through some of the traumas that we've walked through. We didn't walk through human trafficking, but for the grace of God go I. And um, when I met others who were involved with human trafficking and I started to learn about it, which for me was literally only a few years ago. I was the same as you. I just thought, oh, how can we as a society let this happen? How can we stand by?
Yeah.
And like you said, we can choose to ignore it, but we can never say that we didn't know. And one day we are going to stand, whether we believe or not. We're going to stand in judgment, and we're going to be before the face of God, and he's going to say, how could you let this happen to the least of my children, and the littlest, the most vulnerable. And it's not just children, it's adults and young adults, and lives are just being destroyed, and families. And I think for me, um I I think people need to realize that it doesn't matter. This issue, because it is, as you know, combined with drugs, with alcohol, with pornography, the trafficking is all wrapped up together, and it's all about money, and it's all about power, and it's happening in everybody's neighborhood. And the sad and sickest part is, I think the number is 55% of those trafficked are trafficked on the daily by their family or friends.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
it's happening in our neighborhoods behind closed doors. And unless we open our eyes and start paying attention to our community and
yeah,
those people that we see on the daily, and those children that we wonder, why are they struggling? Why do they look so forlorn? I think as a society, we don't want to deal with it. And so we often place judgment and say, oh, that's just, that family's low class. I remember I've heard that a million times, or that family is trouble or whatever. No, that family, or some of them, are being victimized right now, and they're living in a nightmare that we could never even imagine. And
It's
so
often
I
generational.
just
Mhm.
huh?
And it's often
Yeah,
generational, and we miss that.
and
And
it is often generational.
yeah,
And, uh, yeah, it's but we have to do what we can to break that cycle and let them know that they are worthy and
yeah,
they are loved, and that there is hope,
mhm,
and there is a better way to live.
yeah,
Um, and so I just applaud all of you for reaching out to those who, you're like I am doing now, trying to educate,
mhm,
um, but you still reach out and get help for those who are trafficked, and um, you've worked in quite a few facilities, and um, maybe when we come back, maybe you could share with families, um, our moms out there, some of the things to look for, danger signs within your community or within your own children that maybe you're thinking that's not a big deal, but really is a big deal.
mhm. Sure.
Um, and how some of those things can lead to them being vulnerable and easy prey
Yeah.
for those predators that are after the weak links in our society, the ones that they can overpower or manipulate. Um, so, all right, everybody, we'll be back soon. Let me just, there we go. All right, everybody, we'll be back shortly.